Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to Grandma Teresa's Story Time. Today I'll be reading Space Adventure. Out there, if you look up at the night sky, you might see the moon. You could also see stars dotting the sky. The moon or stars are in space. What is space? It's a place beyond Earth's atmosphere, which is what we usually think of as air. If you flew straight up for about 60 miles, you would reach the beginning of space. Once in space, you would get a better look at things in our solar system. This includes the sun and the 8 major planets that travel around the sun, including our Earth. The sun is just one of countless other stars. That means there are endless things to see in our solar system and beyond. Are you ready to go on a space adventure? Let's go. Starry night, constellations. Before we leave Earth, let's take another look at the night sky. Since ancient times, people have been looking at the stars and noticing patterns in them. These patterns are called constellations and were named after everyday things. Some thought Cygnus looked like a swan. This is one way it might be connected. The Big Dipper looks like a giant ladle that could hold water. It is part of a larger constellation called Ursa Major, which means Big Bear. People thought one constellation looked like someone with a bow and arrow, so they named it Orion after a great hunter from Greek mythology. Your view of the stars changes depending on where you are in the world. The constellation Cruise, or the Southern Cross, can only be seen from the southern hemisphere. Stars look like tiny lights because they are far away from Earth. The closest star outside our solar system is more than 4 light years away, which means that the light from that star takes 4 years to reach Earth. The light from the sun reaches Earth in a little over 8 minutes. Center of attention, the sun. There is one star that looks big to us, the sun. It's the brightest star in our sky. The sun is the center of our solar system. All 8 major planets revolve around the sun. The sun is about 4.5 billion years old and is made up of hot, burning gases. The sun makes energy that travels out into space. Some of it reaches Earth, which is about 93 million miles away. How hot is the sun? The surface of the sun is about 9,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Compared to that, a furnace that melts glass at about 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit is more than 3 times cooler. The energy from sunlight makes life possible on Earth. Never look directly at the sun because it can hurt your eyes. First in line, Mercury. Let's blast off and visit the planet closest to the sun, Mercury. It can get very hot on Mercury, but it can also get very cold. When the sun is not shining on part of the planet, the surface can get about 1,000 degrees cooler. Mercury is a small rocky planet that has no moons. Many objects have crashed into the planet, making craters on Mercury's rocky surface. Only 2 spacecraft, Mariner 10 and Messenger, have been sent to Mercury. Mercury spins on its axis very slowly. A day on Mercury is about 2 months on Earth. A hot one, Venus. Venus sometimes looks like another star in Earth's sky. It's the second closest planet to the sun, and it's about the same size as Earth. Venus is another rocky planet with no moons. Temperatures on Venus can reach more than 900 degrees Fahrenheit, and it doesn't cool off. Unlike Mercury, Venus has a thick atmosphere that traps the sun's heat. It's always cloudy on Venus. Venus also contains more than 1,000 volcanoes, though only a few seem to be active. Home sweet home, Earth. The third planet from the sun is Earth. Earth is a rocky planet and a watery one. Because Earth is not too hot or too cold, that water is mostly in liquid form. Earth's atmosphere contains a gas called oxygen. Because it has both water and oxygen, Earth is the only known planet that has living things. It takes 24 hours for Earth to spin on its axis, what we call a day, and it takes 365 days for Earth to travel around or orbit the sun, which is what we call a year. Earth has one moon. It is about 240,000 miles away. 12 people have actually walked on the moon. The moon orbits Earth every 27 days. The sun lights different parts of the moon as it travels, making those parts visible to us on Earth. This is called the phases of the moon. You know what phase we are in now? I believe we're in full moon. The red planet Mars. Mars is the fourth planet from the sun. A day on Mars is a little more than 24 hours long, about the same as a day on Earth. But a year on Mars is almost twice as long as a year on Earth. Mars is called the red planet because minerals in the soil rust and make the rocks and dust look red. Mars has the tallest volcano in our solar system. It's called Olympus Mons, and it's more than 14 miles high. That's almost 3 times higher than Mount Everest, the tallest mountain on Earth. While humans haven't landed on Mars yet, we have explored it using robotic spacecraft. More than 40 spacecraft have either flown by or landed on Mars. In 2012, the Curiosity rover landed on the surface of Mars. Its mission is to figure out if Mars ever had living things. Curiosity has made many exciting discoveries, and new missions to Mars are being planned today. Flying by, asteroids, meteors, and comets. You may think the space between planets is empty, but it's not. Asteroids, meteors, and comets are always flying by. The main asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter is about 100 million miles wide. Asteroids orbit the sun just like the planets do. They are made of rock and metals and often have odd shapes. If an asteroid breaks into smaller pieces, it's called a meteoroid. If a meteoroid enters a planet's atmosphere, it becomes a meteor. Usually meteors burn up as they enter Earth's atmosphere, but if a meteor actually hits the ground, it's called a meteorite. Comet Hale-Bopp. Comets can also create meteors. Comets are made of ice and dust. They also orbit the sun. As a comet heats up, gases and dust get pushed off and form a sort of cloud called a coma and a tail. If Earth passes through the comet's orbit, the rocks and dust left by the comet enter our atmosphere and become meteors. This is called a meteor shower. Many people call these meteors shooting stars. The big one, Jupiter. Next, we'll fly by Jupiter, the fifth planet from the sun. This planet is known as a gas giant because it doesn't have a solid surface like Earth. One of Jupiter's moons, Io, casts a shadow on Jupiter. This big planet has 67 moons, the most of any planet. Many of these were probably asteroids that were pulled in by Jupiter's gravity. Some are less than a mile wide, so more moons may be discovered. The 4 biggest moons can be seen from Earth with a small telescope. Jupiter is the largest planet in our solar system. More than 1,300 Earths could fit inside Jupiter. Jupiter is known for its great red spot, which is actually a storm that has lasted for at least 300 years. In 2008, 2 more spots form nearby. The swirling designs we see are the tops of clouds. Different types of gases and temperatures are probably the reason for the different colors. It has a ring to it, Saturn. Saturn is the 6th planet from the Sun. Because it is so far from the center of our solar system, it takes Saturn 29 Earth years to orbit the Sun. Saturn's rings are mostly made up of billions of ice and rock chunks. Some pieces are as small as a grain of sand, while others are as big as a building. Saturn also has 62 moons. Most are small, but Saturn's largest moon, Titan, is a little bigger than Mercury. Titan also has an atmosphere, which is very different from Earth's atmosphere, and many scientists wonder if Titan could support life. The rings are thousands of miles wide, but less than a mile thick. Though other planets have rings, Saturn's can easily be seen from Earth with a telescope. The sideways planet, Uranus. Uranus is made of gas like its neighbors, Jupiter and Saturn. Uranus is sometimes called an ice giant because underneath the gas is a mixture of liquid and ice. Uranus is also called a sideways planet because it spins on its side. Uranus has 27 moons. Most of the smaller moons were discovered when 2 spacecraft, Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, flew past the planet. Last in line, Neptune. Neptune is the 8th and farthest planet from the Sun. Like Uranus, Neptune is an ice giant. Under its thick atmosphere, it is also made of a mixture of liquid and ice. Thick clouds look like stripes on the planet. The dark spots that we see on Neptune are giant storms. Neptune is windy. Sometimes the wind blows 1,500 miles per hour. It wouldn't be very easy to fly a kite there. There are 13 moons orbiting Neptune. The largest is Triton. Ice volcanoes on Triton spout a liquid mixture that freezes and falls back to the surface like snow. Small change, Pluto and other dwarf planets. Pluto is a rocky, icy body that's smaller than our moon. It's more than 4 billion miles away from the Sun. It was discovered in 1930 and for a long time was the 9th planet in our solar system. After finding other objects of a similar size orbiting the Sun, some astronomers classified Pluto as a dwarf planet in 2006. Right now, our solar system has 5 dwarf planets. Ceres is the largest known asteroid and is also a dwarf planet. The spacecraft, Dawn, is on a mission to explore it. Looking up. How do we know so much about our solar system? Astronomers learn all this by studying the planets and stars. Early astronomers used small telescopes. Over time, telescopes got bigger and better so that people could see farther into space. In the 1990s, the Hubble Space Telescope was launched into space and began sending amazing pictures back to Earth. We also use spacecraft to learn about the solar system. One spacecraft, Voyager 1, is traveling beyond the solar system. A star is born. Once we fly beyond the solar system, it will take a long time to reach the nearest star. That doesn't mean there's nothing to see. Throughout space, there are giant clouds of dust and gas called nebulae. A nebula can take many shapes. Inside many of them, stars are being created. How do stars form? Over a very long time, some of the dust and gas in a nebula come together in a spinning ball. As the ball spins faster, it pulls in more dust and gas, and the inside of the ball grows hotter. Eventually, the ball grows so hot that it becomes a star. Stars can be different colors, sizes, and temperatures. Red stars are the coolest, white blue stars are the hottest, and yellow stars are in between. The Milky Way and beyond. The Sun is just one of the hundreds of billions of stars in our galaxy, which is called the Milky Way. The Milky Way is just one of the billions of galaxies in the universe. From studying the stars that are farthest away from us, scientists think that the universe is about 13.8 billion years old. As the galaxies move through space, they can collide with each other. There are many things we don't know about our universe, so people will keep studying the stars, galaxies, and larger structures. Though we have to fly back to Earth, you can keep looking up at the stars too. Who knows? Maybe one day you will actually be able to fly into space to get a closer look. Now, I hope you've learned a lot about space from what I just read. I've also added a playlist of videos that you can learn about space. So don't forget, boys and girls, with your parents' permission, you can also subscribe to Grandma's channel. So until next time, always remember, the more we get together, the more we get together, the happier we'll be. For my friends are your friends, and your friends are my friends. The more we get together, the happier we'll be. Till next time, bye now.